you know. And, and then the conversation starts from there. And then Narad Muni, Shukdev Goswami ends up discussing about the pastime of Jai Vijay and the four Kumaras. And while narrating that pastime, in the end, he mentions that Jai Vijay then got three births as demons in the material world. And those are the births of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Shishupal and Dantavakra. So while describing these births, these demoniac births, that time one of the verses mentioned by Narad Muni says that this was it? It wasn't Narad Muni. I'm sorry. It was Shukadev Goswami. So oh sorry, no, it was Narad Muni. So Shukadev Goswami is narrating to Parikshit Maharaj the conversation between Narad Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj. And Narad Muni is the one who narrates this incident of Jai Vijay. And there, Narad Muni says that Hiranyakashipu tried to kill his saintly son Prahlad. Okay, tried to kill him in various ways and trouble him. And Narsimhadev, Vishnu came as Narsimhadev and killed Hiranyakashipu. At that time, Yudhishthir Maharaj inquires, oh, but why was there enmity between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj? And how did Prahlad Maharaj become such a great devotee of Lord Krishna? Kindly explain this to me. So that actually, so there the discussion sort of turns to this whole pastime of Prahlad Maharaj Hiranyakashipu. Then we saw how Hiranyakashipu, in order to avenge the death of his brother Hiranyaksha by the hands of the avatar of Vishnu, Varahadev, he is ordering all his companions and all his um, servants to go and destroy wherever Vishnu is being worshipped in any form or manner. He tells them to destroy the Brahminical culture. He tells them to destroy the yagyas that are going on. He tells them to destroy the culture centered around cow protection and everything like that. So that was the second chapter. And in the third chapter, Hiranyakashipu goes to perform austerities, right? He wants to become immortal, right? And he wants to, kill Vishnu. Basically, that's his ultimate aim, and that is why he performs these ghastly austerities on the Mandara mountain, where he's in that same position for thousands of years, and finally, because of his austerity, there is a lot of disturbance that is being caused in the universe, and the demigods they first go to Lord Brahma, and then they request him to please take care of the situation, and then Lord Brahma comes there, and then Hiranyakashipu then asks for all the benedictions that we have seen, and grant me that I not meet death from any living entity, any entity living or non-living. Grant me that I may not be killed by any demigod or demon, or by any great snake from lower planets, etc., etc., and so many other benedictions. So he was given those benedictions, and then he starts terrorizing the universe. Now that he's become very powerful and very close to immortal, not immortal at all, but sort of like that, he has gotten extraordinary powers. And then he is sitting on the throne of King Indra, and then he's just all the demigods are they are afraid of him. It is said that when Hiranyakashipu would just raise his eyebrows, everybody would start trembling in fear, especially the person in front of him. They would start trembling in fear. That was his power. To that extent, he was this thing. And then he used all this for sense gratification. Hiranya means what? I forget. Hiranya means gold. Yeah. Hiranmayena patrena. So Hiranya means gold, and Kashipu means soft bed. So all Hiranyakashipu is interested in is gold, wealth, and enjoying on soft beds, right? So that was the main, thing of Hiranyakashipu in life. So, and to that end, he oppressed many people. He oppressed, devotees and brahmanas and religious principles and whatnot. So that was the fourth chapter we saw, right? And then again, Yudhishthir Maharaj further inquires, and we also saw in the last chapter some very beautiful qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. that although he was born in this demoniac family, he had all the qualities which were actually opposed to demoniac mentality, which were actually very sublime qualities, that a Vaishnava, a very pure Vaishnava exhibits, right? Prahlad Maharaj had that kind of pure qualities because he was a pure devotee, he was a Mahabhagavat, right? And then, so this chapter starts where Prahlad Maharaj is, his um, pastimes at school are discussed. So how he is, Shanda and Amarka are trying to train him and they fail, and then, Hiranyakashipu's anger and whatnot. That famous picture, there is a famous picture for Hiranyakashipu pushing Prahlad away from his lap. Let me find it. Hiranyakashipu pushing Prahlad. Yeah, this famous picture, it's there in the Bhagavatam also. Let me share my screen now. This one. So this incident actually takes place in this chapter. So yeah, I mean, in one sense, the audacity of Prahlad Maharaj is quite astonishing here. But anyway, we'll see. So we have 57 verses here. So we'll have probably what, like four devotees do 15, 15, 15, and whatever remains. So yeah, as always, please raise your hand and yeah. Yes, Gaur Kumar Prabhu, Nitya Mataji can start.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So I just start, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Prahlad Maharaja, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. The great saint Narada Muni said, the demons headed by Hiranyakashipu accepted Sukracharya as their priest for ritualistic ceremonies. Sukracharya's two sons, Sanda and Amarka, lived near Hiranyakashipu's palace. Prahlad Maharaja was already educated in devotional life. But when his father sent him to those two sons of Sukracharya to be educated, they accepted him at their school along with the other sons of the Asuras. Prahlada certainly heard and recited the topics of politics and economics taught by the teachers, but he understood that political philosophy involves considering someone a friend and someone else an enemy, and thus he did not like it. My dear King Yudhishthira, once upon a time, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, took his son Prahlada on his lap and very affectionately inquired, my dear son, please let me know what you think is the best of all the subjects have you studied from their teachers? Prahlad Maharaja replied, oh, best of the Asuras, the king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavana, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narada Muni continued, when Prahlad Maharaja spoke about the path of self-realization in devotional service, thus being faithful to the camp of his father's enemies, Hiranyakashipu, the king of demons, heard Prahlada's words and he laughingly said, thus is the intelligence of children spoiled by the words of the enemy. Hiranyakashipu advised his assistants, my dear demons, give complete protection to this boy at the Gurukula where he is instructed, so that his intelligence will not be further influenced by Vaishnavas, who may go there in disguise. When Hiranyakashipu's servants brought the boy Prahlada back to the Gurukula, the place where the Brahmanas taught the boys, the priest of the demons, Sanda and Amarka, pacified him. With very mild voices and affectionate words, they inquired from him as follows. Dear son Prahlad, all peace and good fortune unto you. Kindly do not speak lies. Just reply with the truth. These boys, you see, are not like you, for they do not speak in a deviant way. How have you learned these instructions? How has your intelligence been spoiled in this way? O best of your family, has this pollution of your intelligence been brought about by you or by the enemies? We are all your teachers and we are very eager to hear about this. Please tell us the truth. Where should I stop, Prabhu? Can I keep going?
15. You
15.
can go
Yeah.
till 15.
Sorry, sorry. Yeah. Prahlad Maharaja replied, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinctions of my friend and my enemy by deluding the intelligence of man. Indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously heard of it from authoritative sources. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a Pandita and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Persons who always think in terms of enemy and friend are unable to ascertain the super soul within themselves. Not to speak of them, even such exalted persons as Lord Brahma, who are fully conversant with the Vedic literature, are sometimes bewildered in the following principles, in following the principles of devotional service. The same Supreme Personality of Godhead who has created this situation has certainly given me the intelligence to take the side of your so-called enemy. O Brahmanas, teachers, as iron attracted by the magnetic stone moves automatically towards the magnet, my consciousness, having been changed by his will, is attracted by Lord Vishnu, who carries a disc in his hand. Thus, I have no independence. The great Saint Narada Muni continued. The great soul, Prahlad Maharaja, became silent after saying this to his teachers, Sanda and Amarka, the seminal sons of Sukracharya. These so-called Brahmanas then became angry at him because they were servants of Hiranyakashipu. They were very sorry, and to chastise Prahlad Maharaja, they spoke as follows. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Nupur can go ahead
Thank you, Prabhuji.
till 30.
Okay, Prabhuji. Oh, please bring me a stick. This Prahlad is damaging our name and fame. Because of his bad intelligence, he has become like a cinder in the dynasty of the demons. Now he needs to be treated by the fourth of the four kinds of political diplomacy. This rascal Prahlad has appeared like a thorn tree in a forest of sandalwood. To cut down sandalwood trees, an axe is needed, and the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable for the handle of such an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandalwood forest of the family of the demons, and this Prahlad is the handle for that axe. Shanda and Amarka, the teachers of Prahlad Maharaj, chastised and threatened their disciple in various ways and began teaching him about the paths of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. This is the way they educated him. After some time, the teachers, Shanda and Amarka, thought that Prahlad Maharaj was sufficiently educated in the diplomatic affairs of pacifying public leaders, appeasing them by giving them lucrative posts, dividing and ruling over them, and punishing them in cases of disobedience. Then one day, after Prahlad's mother had personally washed the boy and dressed him nicely with sufficient ornaments, they presented him before his father. When Hiranyakashipu saw that his child had fallen at his feet and was offering obeisances as an affectionate father, he immediately began showering blessings upon the child and embraced him with both arms. A father naturally feels happy to embrace his son, and Hiranyakashipu became very happy in this way. Narad Muni continued, My dear King Yudhishthir, Hiranyakashipu seated Prahlad Maharaj on his lap and began smelling his head. With affectionate tears gliding down from his eyes and moistening the child's smiling face, he spoke to his son as follows. Hiranyakashipu said, My dear Prahlad, my dear son, O long-lived one, for so much time you have heard many things from your teachers. Now, please repeat to me whatever you think is the best of that knowledge. Prahlad Maharaj said, Hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord's considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him, in other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. After hearing these words of devotional service from the mouth of his son Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry. His lips trembling, he spoke as follows to Shanda, the son of his guru Shukracharya. O unqualified, most heinous son of a Brahmana, you have disobeyed my order and taken shelter of the party of my enemies. You have taught this poor boy about devotional service. What is this nonsense? In due course of time, various types of diseases are manifest in those who are sinful. Similarly, in this world, there are many deceptive friends in false garbs. But eventually, because of their false behavior, their actual enmity becomes manifest. The son of Shukracharya, Hiranyakashipu's spiritual master, said, O enemy of King Indra, O king, whatever your son Prahlad has said was not taught to him by me or anyone else. His spontaneous devotional service has naturally developed in him. Therefore, please give up your anger and do not unnecessarily accuse us. It is not good to insult a Brahmana in this way. Sri Narad Muni continued. When Hiranyakashipu received this reply from the teacher, he again addressed his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu said, You rascal, most fallen of our family, if you have not received this education from your teachers, where have you gotten it? Prahlad Maharaj replied, Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress towards hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has been already chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both.
Vishal Prabhu. Sorry.
Person,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, Prabhu.
My bad. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life and who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men, guided by another blind man, miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men, led by another materially attached man, are bound by the ropes of fruital labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. Unless they spear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, in this way can one be freed from material contamination. After Prahlad Maharaj had spoken in this way and become silent, Hiranyakashipu, blinded by anger, threw him off his lap and onto the ground. Indignant and angry, his reddish eyes like molten copper, Hiranyakashipu said to his servants, O demons, take this boy away from me. He deserves to be killed. Kill him as soon as possible. This boy Prahlad is the killer of my brother, for he has given up his family to engage in the devotional service of the enemy, Lord Vishnu, like a menial servant. Although Prahlad is only 5 years old, even at this young age, he has given up his affectionate relationship with his father and mother. Therefore, he is certainly untrustworthy. Indeed, it is not at all believable that he will behave well toward Vishnu. Although a medicinal herb, being born in the forest, does not belong to the same category as a man. If beneficial, it is kept very carefully. Similarly, if someone outside one's family is favorable, he should be given protection like a son. On the other hand, if a limb of one's body is poisoned by disease, it must be amputated so that the rest of the body may live happily. Similarly, even one's own son, if unfavorable, must be rejected, although born of one's own body. Just as uncontrolled senses are the enemies of all yogis engaged in advancing in spiritual life, this Prahlad, who appears to be a friend, is an enemy because I cannot control him. Therefore, this enemy, whether eating, sitting, or sleeping, must be killed by all means. The demons, the servants of Hiranyakashipu, thus began striking the tender parts of Prahlad Maharaj's body with their tridents. The demons all had fearful faces, sharp teeth, and reddish coppery beards and hair, and they appeared extremely threatening. Making a tumultuous sound, shouting, "Chop him up! Pierce him!" they began striking Prahlad Maharaj, who sat silently, meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though a person who has no assets in pious activities performs some good deed, it will have no result. Thus, the weapons of the demons, who had no tangible effects upon Prahlad Maharaj, thus the weapons of the demons had no tangible effects upon Prahlad Maharaj because he was a devotee undisturbed by material conditions and fully engaged in meditating upon and serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unchangeable, who cannot be realized by the material senses, and who is the soul of the entire universe. My dear King Yudhishthira, when all the attempts of the demons to kill Prahlad Maharaj were futile, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, being most fearful, began contriving other means to kill him. Hiranyakashipu could not kill his son by throwing him beneath the feet of big elephants, throwing him among huge, fearful snakes, employing destructive spells, hurling him from the top of a hill, conjuring up illusory tricks, administering poison, starving him, exposing him to severe cold, wind, fire, and water, or throwing heavy stones to crush him. When Hiranyakashipu found that he could not in any way harm Prahlad, who was completely sinless, he was in great anxiety about what to do next. Hiranyakashipu thought, I have used many ill names in chastising this boy Prahlad, and have devised many means of killing him. But despite all my endeavors, he could not be killed. Indeed, he saved himself by his own powers, without being affected in the least by these treacheries and abominable actions.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, I'll finish off. Although he is very near to me and is merely a child, he is situated in complete fearlessness. He resembles a dog's curved tail, which can never be straightened, because he never forgets my misbehavior and his connection with his master, Lord Vishnu. I can see that this boy's strength is unlimited, for he has not feared any of my punishments. He appears immortal. Therefore, because of my enmity towards him, I shall die. Or maybe this will not take place. Thinking in this way, the king of the Daityas, morose and bereft of bodily luster, remained silent with his face downward. Then Shanda and Amarka, the two sons of Shukracharya, spoke to him in secret. O Lord, we know that when you simply move your eyebrows, all the commanders of the various planets are most afraid. Without the help of any assistant, you have conquered all the three worlds. Therefore, we do not find any reason for you to be morose and full of anxiety. As for Prahlad, he is nothing but a child and cannot be a cause of anxiety. After all, his bad or good qualities have no value. Until the return of our spiritual master Shukracharya, arrest this child with the ropes of Varuna so that he will not flee in fear. In any case, by the time he is somewhat grown up and has assimilated our instructions or served our spiritual master, he will change in his intelligence. Thus, there need be no cause for anxiety. After hearing these instructions of Shanda and Amarka, the sons of his spiritual master, Hiranyakashipu agreed and requested them to instruct Prahlad in that system of occupational duty which is followed by royal householder families. Thereafter, Shanda and Amarka systematically and unceasingly taught Prahlad Maharaj, who was very submissive and humble, about mundane religion, economic development, and sense gratification. The teachers of Shanda and Amarka instructed Prahlad Maharaj in the three kinds of material advancement called religion, economic development, and sense gratification. Prahlad, however, being situated above such instructions, did not like them, for such instructions are based on the duality of worldly affairs, which involve one in a materialistic way of life marked by birth, death, old age, and disease. When the teachers went home to attend to their household affairs, the students of the same age as Prahlad would call him to take the opportunity of leisure hours for play. Prahlad Maharaj, who was truly the supreme learned person, then addressed his friends in very sweet language. Smiling, he began to teach them about the uselessness of the materialistic way of life. Being very kind to them, he instructed them as follows. My dear King Yudhishthir, all the children were very much affectionate and respectful to Prahlad Maharaj. And because of their tender age, they were not so polluted by the instructions and actions of their teachers, who were attached to condemned duality and bodily comfort. Thus the boys surrounded Prahlad Maharaj, giving up their playthings, and sat down to hear him. Their hearts and eyes being fixed upon him, they looked at him with great earnestness. Prahlad Maharaj, although born in a demon family, was an exalted devotee, and he desired their welfare. Thus he began instructing them about the futility of materialistic way of life. उमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So thank you to all the readers who read. It's a very interesting chapter, and this is often portrayed in many dramas. We had done a drama on this in Vraj, if you
Yes,
all remember.
I was thinking, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, if you can show the 5 minutes. So in our drama, this particular chapter is covered in 5 minutes. So is it okay if I show the drama? Nupur found it, and I want to. Is it okay if I share the screen?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I'm going to share my screen now.
Yeah.
And please let me know if you see it. Everybody, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a long day. Sleeping. Oh, my son.
Can you hear?
Come here. Sit there.
Yes, bro, we can hear.
You have a father like me, my son. And I feel that you should learn everything. So that when you take over my throne, better than me. Yeah? You inherit everything, my son. All my wealth, all my power, and all my kingdom will be yours.
Wash your hands.
In due course of time. But for that to happen, you need to learn. You need to learn everything. And I know will be the right. Let me call the son of my Guru Shukracharya, Amarka Shanda. Yes, sir. Welcome. Since you are the sons of my Guru Shukracharya, I think it is quite suitable for both of you to teach my son Prahlad. Yes, sir. Teach him well the art of diplomacy and hence so forth. So off to school, Prahlad. Learn well the art of diplomacy. Come, Prahlad. Come, little demon. We'll teach him nice. Hello, boys. Welcome to DTU. Demons Technological University. Supplying high-class demons since forever. So this is our Unit 1, Chapter 1, and Shanda and Amarka will take you. Professor Amarka and Professor Shanda, who is myself, will take you through this. Yeah. All right. So let me ask you a few questions. Are you guys ready? Yes. Prahlad, are you ready? All right. So tell me, guys, what is the goal of life? What is the goal of life? Tell me.
Achieve
Enjoyment.
Destruction.
Good. Distraction. You'll do well. Power. Bada banega tu. Alright. The goal of life is sense gratification. So everyone repeat, goal of life is
Sense gratification.
Goal of life is
Sense gratification.
Good, Jivens, good. Alright. Stand up. So, what is the development. This is a tricky one.
Yeah.
Development.
Self-development.
Look at him. You're gonna fail the class, man.
What are you doing?
Self-development? What is this? What is this nonsense self-development?
Power.
Close enough, close enough.
Nice. So, the best form of development is economic development.
So, Jimmy,
Economics.
best form of development is
Economic development.
Prahlad, do you understand?
All right. So, what type of association is the best? You guys.
But you won't live with us, you'll graduate and go, na? Then after that,
Bad association.
association,
People who party
It's
bad
close.
association.
It's close.
close. These are bright students.
Right. All right. So, what is the best association, students? It is of a loose movement.
Oh.
Good. All right. Let me ask the last question. Tell me this. If someone obstructs your sense gratification, what should you do?
Kill them.
Kill them. They're all experts. All experts saying,
We have learned so much in the first chapter itself.
very nice.
Very good, very good.
So as you had said, kill them.
So this brings us to the end of the first chapter. So there are definitely a lot of lessons to learn in DTU because you are all going to be high class demons. So we'll take a break now.
Yeah. We'll take a break and we'll continue after that. Prahlad, please come. We'll take you to the Hiranyakashipu and show us. Explain him how good we are teaching the demonic qualities to you. Jai Hiranyakashipu. Jai Hiranyakashipu.
Jai Maharaj ki Jai.
Welcome. Welcome, my son Prahlad. Star of my eyes. Tell me.
O wealth of the demons, one must not mistake this material body to last forever, but understand its true purpose, which is to practice Krishna consciousness and surrender unto Krishna by serving him in pure devotion.
What is this nonsense? You two come here. See, Maharaj, child's intelligence has been spoiled by the words of the enemy. Therefore, you must make sure that he will be protected in all ways at your Gurukul. And make sure that those devotees of Krishna who have brainwashed him, they do not come again in this time.
Yes, Maharaj.
Is that quite clear?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes. Good.
Allah, what did you do, man?
Come to last. You don't realize that by uttering those words, you almost killed us.
Where have you got these wild ideas from?
Where are you getting these ideas from? Krishna consciousness?
Krishna consciousness. Nonsense. It looks like some Krishna devotees have entered in our Gurukul in disguise and are polluting these little demons. You know, we need to do something about it.
Yeah, we need to do something about it.
So I think the only way is we should hit him with a whip and teach him a lesson.
No. What are you doing? Are you going to hate the son of Hiranyakashipu? Oh, Prahlad. Oh, good boy. See, I got some sweets for you. Some rasgullas, some gulab jamun. Please tell me, where are you getting these ideas from? What are you learning? That Krishna is our friend.
This is
No, stop it.
This is
He told me. He had almost Prahlad. Good boy. Tell me, who are you going to say? Who is teaching you? All these things.
we are your friends.
He's saying Krishna is our friend.
How can you think of friends and enemies when all this is external? Krishna consciousness is the reality of life, and Krishna is our true friend.
Where have you got these ideas from? This will get us killed.
I think we should teach them again.
More advanced lessons.
Oh yes, more advanced level. Let's go to the class. Let's go to the class.
Everyone ready for more advanced lessons?
Yes, Prabhuji.
This is going to be musical, so brace yourself. Okay. What kind of music do you like?
Rock music. Rap.
Demoniac music.
Yes.
So guys, as Chanda already mentioned, we will be teaching you another chapter. So you guys have to follow me, and we will be singing this, and you have to follow and understand this very nicely. Will you do that?
Yes.
All right, Chanda. Shall we start?
Yes, we can start.
So sing with us. I mean, after us.
1, 2, 3, start. So much wealth I have today. 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 More and more will come my way. 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 All my enemies I will kill. All my enemies I will kill. All my enemies I will kill. I will kill. That's my scheme I will fulfill. 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 Thank you, Amarka. Wonderful music.
Thank you.
I think we should give them a break now. This has been an advanced lesson,
Hmm.
so they should absorb all these demoniac things.
Right, right.
So you can all take a break of 20 minutes. Think about doing wrong. Think about sense gratification. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Wasn't that wonderful?
It was like reliving the. Mm.
Yeah. We took so much, we did so much creativity. It was really nice. Yeah. Dramas are always enjoyable. Yeah. Yeah, Prahlad is also laughing at one point, and when I have some sweets for you, he said, that time I started laughing. Yeah, it's just amazing. But anyway, so thank you for that. That was a really nice addition to this. So, yes, so coming back to the chapter. So in this chapter, multiple themes come about, but and then there is a series of verses which is really, really important. It is quoted multiple times, those 2-3 verses. So we'll look at that. And so initially in this chapter, the concept of friend versus enemy is being taught to Prahlad Maharaj, but he doesn't like this. He doesn't like this whole concept of friend and enemy. Some person is a friend, some person is an enemy. Because Prahlad is a pure devotee of the Lord, right? Being a pure devotee of the Lord, he doesn't like all these distinctions, right? So Prabhupada writes very extensively in the purport that a friend and enemy is for a materialistic person. So a materialistic person who is a person, if sense gratification is the only aim in that person's life, then the people who align with his desire for sense gratification and try to support it, they are the friends, and those who are not doing that, they are enemies, right? So and Prabhupada talks about this extensively in his purports here. But what does a devotee do, right? So a devotee is actually he's not interested in this friends or enemies, because a devotee is looking at the spiritual side of things, right? So Prabhupada quotes many verses here, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, right? The humble sage, by the virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, cow, elephant, dog, and dog eater, right? So, yeah, Pandita, those who are actually learned, the equipoised, advanced devotees who have full knowledge of everything, do not see any living entity as an enemy or friend. Instead, with broader vision, they see that everyone is a part of Krishna, as confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jivera Swarupa Hoye Krishnera Nityadas. Every living entity being part of the Supreme Lord is meant to serve the Lord, just as every part of the body is meant to serve the whole body. So, like that, the Vaishnava sees, as servants of the Supreme Lord, all living entities are one. But a Vaishnava, because of his natural humility, addresses every other living entity as Prabhu. Yeah, so Prabhupada talks about addressing others as Prabhu. He says that a Vaishnava has so many things to learn from other devotees. That is why they address other devotees as Prabhu, right? And he writes here that yeah, in the clutches of Maya, a person thinks this person is my enemy and that one is my friend, right? Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the friend of all living entities, and all living entities are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord. Oneness is possible through this understanding, not through artificially thinking that every one of us is equal to God, right? So essentially, a Vaishnava thinks that a Vaishnava doesn't see in terms of friend and enemy. A Vaishnava sees everyone as servants of Krishna, whether they are acting in that consciousness or not. That's a different issue. But a Vaishnava tries to see everybody as servants of God, because Jivera Swarupa hai Krishnera Nityadas. The Jiva in its innate nature is Nityadas, eternal servant of Krishna. So that's how Vaishnavas see everyone. So when I was reading this, I was trying to contrast this with, this is the internal mood that we should be having, right? Now, if we contrast that with another verse by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anukulasya Sankalpa Pratikulasya Varjinam. So accepting those things that are favorable to our bhakti and rejecting those things that are unfavorable towards bhakti, right? And also in many instances, Prabhupada has said this, Mahaprabhu has said this, that we should try to, we should try not to become too influenced by materialistic association, association that takes us away from our understanding of Krishna consciousness. So that on a practical level, that distinction has to happen, that judgment has to happen in a devotee's life, right? But internally, we know that everybody, even a very hardcore materialist, on the spiritual level is actually a servant of Krishna, right? So although internally we may think like that, and in one of the purports here, Prabhupada also writes, I can't find that. So devotee sees anyone and everyone as a servant of Krishna, and therefore the devotee tries to give Krishna to them, tries to preach Krishna consciousness to them. So that is what. So if possible, as Vaishnavas, we can try to give Krishna to someone, but if not possible, at least internally we can think that this person is a servant, an eternal servant of God on the spiritual level. But at the same time, if that association is not uplifting to us, is actually pulling us down, then we can try to limit, or we can try to see how we can balance it, right? Of course, in some cases, in case of Prahlad Maharaj, for example, his father himself was a demon, right? And he was completely against Vishnu. But then we see that how Prahlad Maharaj is coming and offering his respects to Hiranyakashipu. So that exchange is there, that exchange of love is there. And Prahlad Maharaj is, loves Hiranyakashipu as his father. It's not that in the process of loving Krishna, in the process of loving Vishnu, Prahlad Maharaj is just ignoring his father. My father is a demon. What can I expect from him, right? But no, the Prahlad Maharaj is offering his respects. He's showing love, right? So I was recently hearing a class by Radhanath Maharaj. So there is this verse that comes, right, very often. It's quoted, Devarshi Bhutapta Nrinam Pitrinam Na Kinkaro Nayam Ranicha Rajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Pariritya Kartum. So this verse essentially states that we have a rina, or we have a debt to many of these entities, like Deva, Rishi, Bhut, Apta. Actually, let me bring that verse up. Devarshi Bhutapta Nrinam Pitrinam. So this verse, O king, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. This verse is often misconstrued. Maharaj was saying that verse is often misconstrued to be taken as, oh, if I'm practicing bhakti, then I don't need to show my love to my family. I don't need to show love to my, my kids or my wife or whatnot, my spouse and this and that. But actually, Maharaj said that's a very narrow understanding. That's a very, very superficial understanding. Maharaj was mentioning that if we are truly, like truly, sincerely, genuinely trying to love Krishna, then we will not be arrogant towards those whom Krishna loves. And whom does Krishna love? Krishna loves everybody. Krishna loves each and every living entity, whether that living entity is a devotee or not, in an external sense. Krishna loves everyone, each and every soul. So Maharaj was saying that if we are being very humble and very nice in front of the Lord, but we are completely rude and arrogant to others around us, then that is actually not really taking shelter of Krishna, because that does not really please Krishna. So Maharaj was very nicely mentioning that the right spirit of this verse, which is that if we love God, if we love Krishna, then we will naturally, our humility, our love, our compassion will extend to everybody else. It's not that I'll only love Krishna and ignore everybody. So that is something that I was reflecting on, this friend enemy, we should, devotee doesn't see anyone as friend enemy, but at the same time, the devotee has to make a judgment call as to, if some association is pulling him or her down, then we should not get influenced by that association, I guess. Any thoughts on that? Or was my explanation so perfect that nobody has any thoughts? Yes, Nupurma.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I really love the point you made. Like that struck me that you are being nice to devotees or in front of the Lord, and then you are being rude to somebody else or anyone. So this keep on pinching me. Like I do that. Like I react. I'm aggressive. So when I react, so this pinches me. But again, the point is I am unable to distinct. Like obviously I should not be rude to anybody. But then this distinction that whom should I be humble to, whom should I not be like very submissive or surrendered. So that's the point, like that's the question that keeps on coming in my head.
Yeah, that's very true. That question comes to many. Even I am sometimes confused about that. But then again, humility is not just submitting oneself, surrendering, listening to the other person. Humility can take many forms. Even if somebody is a friend, in that spirit of friendship, also there can be humility, right? Although you're not bowing down to the friend and offering obeisances to the friend, but still we can act in a humble way with the friend also. So humility can take many forms. So the way I understand it is, yes, even in our professional circles, our outside devotees, non-devotee, so-called non-devotee circles, there are people who guide us, there are people who help us, right? And there are people whom we can help and positively impact. May not be through Krishna consciousness, but maybe through our our professional whatever experience we have gained so far, whatever knowledge we have. So humility would in that case mean to just be genuine in that relationship, in that transaction, give and take, be genuine in that, and ultimately internally we wish for their good. We of course we would always wish that that person ultimately takes to bhakti and things like that. But if that thing is not directly possible, at least we can be genuine, we can be kind with them, we can help them in whatever way we can, and in that way express our humility. So humility is not at least my understanding is like that it's not just, oh, you're great, please tell me what to do, I'm So I'm a humble servant of yours. And yeah, that is one form of humility, but that is not the only form of humility, is my understanding. Yeah, anyone has any other thoughts on this?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, not directly related to this, but I just wanted to share something. I heard in a class that was being done by Hamsa Rupa Prabhu, I think his name is, the president of the
Uh-huh.
Brooklyn Temple.
Yeah.
And one thing that he was saying, which struck me, was, he was obviously, I think he was addressing all the temple residents. And he was saying that, the next day or maybe that evening was the Sunday program.
Hmm.
And he felt that a lot of new people will come. And nobody should feel like out of place.
Hmm.
So what can the temple devotees do to make everybody feel welcome?
Hmm.
And so I think that is almost like applying this principle, the principle of seeing Krishna in everyone.
Yeah.
If you apply it, in different parts of your life, this is one way to apply it, I thought. So I was, I liked it a lot, and thought I'll share it with you.
For sure, Prabhu. Even in our Krishna house preaching, our effort is that, the four families who come together to organize it, we discuss very often on a regular basis as to what we can do to, make it so that the students feel at home. The students who ever come, they feel at home. It's not just about dumping the philosophy, right? It's about making them realize that there is something higher to life, and of those who are organizing, that is us, like we should have that genuine consciousness of well-wishing for them. It's not that we, if that consciousness of, oh, I want to make such and such person a devotee, I want to, get such and such such and such a person to do this and do that, that is actually a very external and in many ways a sort of uh, a materialistic thing also. But are we as organizers of a preaching program genuinely, from the core of our hearts, interested in the upliftment of those who come to us, right? So we often, I often think about it like that, when giving classes or even discussing with students and answering questions also. When you answer questions that someone asks, am I answering that question with a genuine desire to really help that person, or am I answering the question to make a point, to prove that the philosophy is correct, to prove that the point is correct? That thing goes on in my head often. And when questions are asked, there is a tendency to take it defensively, like, oh, how can this person ask such a question? But if you have that genuinely, well-wishing nature for the other person, then we will take the questions in a more holistic way and answer in a way that will really help the other person. Yeah, definitely. Related to making people feel at ease, and not making them feel out of place. Yeah, very important, especially in outreach. Yeah, in outreach, and even if somebody is practicing for some time, even for them, it's devotee care is a big thing. Yeah, nowadays. So yes, any other points on this? We have Vishal Prabhu with something to say. Yes, Vishal Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, I have an alternate take on this. Like, obviously, you don't want to have enemies in your life, but I feel like you meet some people in your life who are like, have something against you for some reason, right? So I was reminded of this. I mean, like, we discussed this, like, when discussing tolerance as well, and then I remember this came up when Yashoda Dulal Prabhu gave a class on tolerance, I think. And then, like, he was talking about the scenario where, like, there are people who, And I think Megha Mataji had asked this question, like, he was talking about how, like, you need to have like a certain tolerance, and then, like, should not, don't not react. This is
Hmm.
what he said. Like, he said the lack of tolerance stems from a desire to control.
Hmm.
So, and then, but then, I think we stretched that concept a little. And then when we spoke about that, like, somebody's trying to undermine your position and trying to get over you, like, trying to do a one over you, right? And then,
Hmm.
like, it's like, do you still have, like, do you still have tolerance and let them walk over you? And then, and then he said that, like, there's a, it's not that there's a limit to those, like, to humility and tolerance, but then, like, there's like a, uh, you need to know when you need to stand. You should know when to stand up for yourself.
Correct.
So I was thinking about that, like, not that you have enemies, like, when I think about enemies, right, it's not that I will do, like, I will take a step, like, I will deliberately try to do something to harm them, but then, like, I want to keep distance. I want to keep my distance from certain people, is what I feel. I heard this, like, over the last, I think last week,
Hmm.
that, if you're a friend to everybody, then you're an enemy to yourself.
Hmm.
Like, if you stretch that, like, you have to be nice to everybody, and then you take everything, like, somebody's, like, being rude to you, and then you still take it upon yourself, like, you're doing more harm to yourself by following that principle on, like, on a very broad scale, right? That I have to be nice to everybody because that's my dharma. But so, like, I was really, so, like, that's my take on it. It's not that, you do something, like, you don't react immediately, but then, like, I feel like there must be a way to maintain your distance, or, like, at least, like, try not to engage, or, like, move away from certain situations, where, like, like a person who you don't necessarily like is involved. That was my take on it.
No, very valid, Prabhu. Extremely valid. And even when you keep that distance, right? You don't keep that distance in with the thinking that, oh, this person is my enemy. That is, it's a very tough position, and a very advanced devotees can think like that. But at least we should try to aspire for it. If somebody is taking us for a ride, and they are trying to trample upon us, then definitely we should do the needful to not be in that situation. We sometimes that would even mean we might have to respond in a certain way to silence them or whatnot. But then even in doing that, at least we should understand that, at least this is what I feel, that this person is behaving like this because of whatever certain conditionings that person has. And that this person, I mean, I don't take that person as an enemy per se, like an enemy, right? So like that, yeah, it's definitely a very advanced thing. And then in that case, yes, we should keep distance, we should do the needful to get away from that situation. I totally agree on that. I totally agree. Yeah, that is the thing, right? There is an internal disposition, and there is an external, how we act externally. So there are two things. They should not be contradictory, but at least there should be a deeper aspect going on within us when we do certain thing. So
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think I think Gaurakumar Prabhu asked CCP this question about self-care being um, being really important for
yeah.
people who are involved in devotee care.
Mhm.
Because first you have to prioritize yourself.
Mhm.
And I completely agree with Vishal Prabhu there that if you're everybody's friend, then you're your own biggest enemy, because you have not left any time or energy for yourself.
Mhm.
Whereas if you take care of yourself, but not in terms of sense gratification or something, but if you take care of fulfilling your your needs,
Mhm.
then you will be able to care for others even more.
Yeah.
And so that's a principle to follow. Going back to the point of somebody undermining you, that can happen at work to any of us.
Yep.
And again, the principle of self-preservation does apply, because if you just allow yourself to be walked over, then you will not have a position to, you'll not have a job to go to, and then you will be doing disservice to your family and to your and to your children. So obviously you have to take care of yourself.
Mm.
You have to see it as a role, and do whatever is necessary at that point of time. Maybe even respond in a way that is not malicious, but at the same time ensures self-preservation.
Yep. Precisely, Prabhu. Yeah. Thank you. Gaur Kumar, you were going to say something, I think.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. So a couple of things, Prabhu. First thing is, our Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, they constantly emphasize this point that the greatness of a person can be estimated by their ability to tolerate provoking situations. So just by that definition, if you go, that means every provoking situation has to be tolerated. And the more one is able to tolerate, that much elevated in consciousness they are. So in one sense, that is true. But in the other sense, it is also said that the most compassionate people have the best boundaries. So, so both these things have to be taken in the right way and understood where we are. So it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm very elevated, so I have no boundaries, so I'm completely giving myself 100% to others. That will also not work. On the other hand, if a small provocation comes and you're not able to tolerate it, then that is also very bad. So we must understand where we are in that ladder of our consciousness, and then slowly make progress by understanding both these extremes. Of course, the self-realized souls are extremely tolerant. You can think of many examples from Srimad Bhagavatam where they were extremely tolerant. Who is in the 11th canto? Which is that sage, Prabhu, who was very tolerant, and the kids were throwing stones. I don't know why it's not coming to my mind. He's written a poem also.
Kids were throwing. Avanti Brahman.
Avanti Brahman, yes, Avanti Brahman. So he was initially he was not tolerant at all, actually. For every small provocation, he was getting disturbed. But then he became so tolerant, Avanti Brahman, towards the end, that when kids were passing urine on him or throwing stones at him, nothing was bothering him. So that means that this person is very highly elevated in consciousness. But at our level, we have to set boundaries and have our own space where we will be able to grow and reach that level. I don't know if it's too complicated what I'm saying, but yeah, that's what I wanted to convey, Prabhu.
I remember when you had asked this question to Chaitanya Chand Prabhu, he had spoken about two things, things that take strength and things that give strength.
Yeah.
And the boundaries of a self-realized soul are not like selfish boundaries, but they are boundaries because of the things that they want to do that give them strength.
Correct.
And then when they have that strength, then they can open up those bounds to, give strength to others. So, like that. Yeah. Anyway, I remembered that when you mentioned. Yeah.
Oh, that was very nice, because I had forgotten these exact words and I was desperately trying to paraphrase, but I think you captured it accurately. Give strength. And so, Prabhuji, when I was in school, I think when I was I came up with a principle for myself, and it has stuck with me forever. And I always use it whenever I'm in a difficult situation. The way I think about it is be good to yourself only to the extent of not hurting others, and be good to others only to the extent of not hurting yourself.
Beautiful, Prabhu. Nice, yeah.
Could you repeat that, Prabhu? Krishna Prabhu? The last
Oh,
sentence.
yeah. Be good to yourself only to the extent of not hurting others. Be good to others only to the extent of not hurting yourself.
Yeah, this actually encapsulates what Chaitanya Charan Prabhu also said about strength, things that give you strength and things that take strength. Definitely, yeah.
Right, but I think the strength point is also, is extremely valuable because it's your personal sadhana which your boundaries obviously protect.
Yeah.
Is what will give you the strength, which will give you the strength to care for others. Is that the right way to understand it, Gaur Kumar Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. That's exactly the right way.
And I see it as not just sadhana, sadhana is one thing that gives us strength, but even being cared for is also something that gives strength. So, like I might not feel strength by doing sadhana every day. Like every time I sit and do sadhana, it's not that I feel strength, but maybe when I sit with my mentors and I like talk to them nicely, that time I feel strength. So yeah, different activities constitute what gives strength is my understanding. It could be sadhana. It is definitely sadhana for everyone. But at the same time, there are many other things like, maybe being cared for and, is something that could give strength and things like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this? And then we have how much? Oh my God, we have only 5 more minutes. Interesting. Okay. So what we'll do now is we'll try to see that those important verses really quickly. So the first one comes, it is 7 points of 5.5. This one. Tatsadu manya suravarya dehinam sada samudvigna diyam asadgrahat. Hitmatmapatam griham andhakupam. Vanam gato yad dharim ashrayeta. O best of the asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We go to New Vrindavan every September. So that's where we go and take shelter. But yeah, this is a very important verse. We'll not discuss too much about it. Prabhupada has written a big purport, and so many things are there. Prabhupada is talking about Griha Medi, Grihastha, Varnashram, and so many things. But anyway, this is one important verse. Another verse that comes is, of course, the famous this Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktischain Navalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavatyadha Tan Manye Dhitam Uttamam. Right? Hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. And this is a particularly long and detailed purport. So Prabhupada goes in detail about every, each one of the 9 processes, and he talks about many things. And Prabhupada mentions that at least chronologically, Shravanam is the one that comes first. At least, the beginning of spiritual life happens with Shravanam when we hear submissively. And then, Kirtanam happens. Kirtanam is again glorifying, chanting. That is, chanting is Yuga Dharma as well. And then Prabhupada also actually stressed a lot on Archanam here. And this was really interesting for me. It was like a knock on my head. So Prabhupada writes in this section about Archanam or deity worship, about grihasthas, how important it is grihasthas to do deity worship, and some really strong strong sentences here Prabhupada writes. Where is that positive? Assured. Yeah. So it is Prabhupada says here, grihastha devotees, however, are generally engaged in material activities. And therefore, if they do not like to deity worship, do not take to deity worship, their falling down is positively assured. He says, very strong. So basically, what point Prabhupada here is making is, in our Krishna consciousness movement, there are brahmacharis, grihasthas, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis. But the deity worship in the temple should be performed, especially by the householders. So this is something really, I never knew that Prabhupada had written like this. Because the brahmacharis go with the sannyasis to preach, and the vanaprasthas should prepare themselves for the next status of renounced life. The grihasthas, however, are generally engaged in material activities. So if they do not take to deity worship, their falling down is positively assured, Prabhupada writes. So deity worship means following the rules and regulations precisely. That will keep one steady in devotional service. So this is really something nice that I read. And there are
just one thing
sorry,
on
go
this,
ahead.
Prabhu. Just one thing on this, sorry. So deity worship need not be just deity worship in the temple. Deity worship can be to our local house deities also. So, but it's very important that all grasthas are involved in some kind of deity worship. That's why the emphasis is on getting deities at home, so that you can make Krishna the center of your home. And then you, by making Krishna the center of your home, you're always thinking of Krishna, how to serve Krishna, how to offer, and all that comes under deity worship. Doing Aarti every morning, doing offerings, taking care of Krishna, waking him up, putting him to sleep. All those things come under deity worship. And then you become Krishna becomes the center of your home. And you also start developing that connection, that attachment to Krishna. So it's I like this point very much that Srila Prabhupada makes here. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. And one more point Prabhupada makes about Pada Sevanam also. This was also a nice revelation for me. So bathing in the Ganges and serving a pure Vaishnava are also known as Tadiya Upasanam. This is also Pada Sevanam. The word Tadiya means in relationship with the Lord. So service to the Vaishnava, Tulsi Maharani, Ganga Maya, Yamuna Maya are included in Pada Sevanam. All these processes of Pada Sevanam help one advance in spiritual life very quickly. So this was also very nice. I didn't know that service to Vaishnavas is considered under Pada Sevanam. So that is something nice I got from this. Yeah. One more interesting thing Prabhupada writes in one of the purports where one of the verses where Hiranyakashipu smells Prahlad Maharaj's head, right, as a mark of affection. I could experience that when Prithu was born. And then Prabhupada writes something really nice in the purport. So here Prabhupada writes, if a child or disciple falls at the feet of the father or spiritual master, the superior responds by smelling the head of the subordinate. So this I've seen Maharaj doing this sometimes to his disciples when Maharaj embraces them. So anyway, that is one thing. Other than that, there were the four kinds of diplomacy, the four kinds of things, Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, Chanda and Amarka first tried to convince Prahlad Maharaj with sweet words. Then they went to Danda, right? So Prabhupada writes about that also. But yeah, anyway, twice in this chapter, Prahlad Maharaj completely destroys the pride of Hiranyakashipu, rather instigates the pride of Hiranyakashipu. And then finally, these are another 3 verses which are very well known. Matirna Krishne Parata Swatova Mitho Bipadyet Griha Vratanam Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Punah Punascharvita Charvananam. Because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress towards hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations towards Krishna are never aroused either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. The next verse. Nate vidu swartagatim hi vishnum durashayaye bahirarthamaninaha andha yathandair upaniyamanas te pisha tantryam urudham nibaddha. Persons who are strongly entrapped by the consciousness of enjoying material life, or who have therefore accepted as their leader or guru a similar blind man attached to external sense objects, cannot understand that the goal of life is to return home back to Godhead and engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. As blind men guided by another blind man miss the right path and fall into a ditch, materially attached men led by another materially attached man are bound by the ropes of fruitive labor, which are made of very strong cords, and they continue again and again in materialistic life, suffering the threefold miseries. One devotee had said this nice saying, I remember many years ago. लोभी गुरु पापी चेला दोनों नरक में ठेलम ठेला. I don't know, somehow I just remembered that reading this. Anyway, this is the last one. Naisham matistavad urukramangrim sparshatya anartha pagamo yad artha mahiyasam padarajobhishekam nishkinchananam navrinita yavat. Unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined toward materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, in this way can one be freed from material contamination. Krishna Pada Dhuli Ara Krishna Anai Bhakta Pada Dhuli Ara Bhakta Pada Jal Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha Tina Mahabal. CC, it comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhakta Pada Dhuli, dust of the lotus feet of a devotee. Bhakta Pada Jal, the water that has washed the feet of a pure devotee. Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha, the Mahaprasadam that a devotee has tasted. These are Tina Mahabal, 3 great power giving, spiritual power giving things. Anyway, that's all I had. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Any last thoughts before we conclude?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I'll add one more thing. You said about the dust of the feet of a devotee. Even in the Hanuman Chalisa, it starts with Sri Guru Charana Saroj Raja.
Yes.
So, same thing. And then the other thing I noticed in this, while you all were reading, there is another verse in the Hanuman Chalisa, Mana Krama Vachana Dhyana Jo Lave.
Shripati Kantha Lagave, right?
Yeah. And Mana Krama Vachana, so mind, actions, and words, working towards in the service of the Lord.
Yes. Yeah, it comes
I
in
think
one of the purports here as well. Yeah.
Yes.
So the Tridandi, so Vaishnava sannyasis are known as Tridandi sannyasis. The meaning of the Tridandi is 3 dandas. The danda, if you see of a Vaishnava sannyasi, it is covered by cloth, but inside there are actually 3 dandas joined together. So those 3 dandas actually indicate kaya, manasa, vacha. So body, mind, and words. So a sannyasi is someone who has dedicated his body, mind, and words to the service of the Lord. So yeah, some say diya vacha manasa, some say kaya vacha manasa. Kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhatmanama prakriti svabhava karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayana yeti samarpayami. The famous verse in Vishnu Sahasranam, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, that's how the Vishnu Sahasranam ends, I think.
Yes, it does. It does. Yes. Okay, dear.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Prabhu, go ahead. You wanted to say?
No, nothing. Yeah. Maybe you'll do Vanchakalpa?
Yes. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishnava vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.